Hey YouTube, what's happening for 'em? Recently, a YouTuber by the name of RogertG, reader of books, created a new tag. And I don't think I've done a tag yet on this channel, but I think late's probably better than never to hop on the latest tag that everybody's doing. That's about a month old at this point. Uh, it's what if you owned a bookstore? Like, what would you do with the bookstore? What kind of bookstore would it be? Now, he acknowledges in his original video, and this is extremely true, that none of us want to actually literally physically own a bookstore because there'd be too much work involved. The financial matters would be crazy. Uh, Having to carry books in and out of the store all the time at the wee hours of the morning, nobody actually wants to do it. But the point is, what is your dream bookstore? Like, if you were in full creative control over this specific place, what would it be like? And I feel like this is a good tag because I think it reveals a lot about the kind of reader somebody is, just the way that they want this space to be. So I'm going to start off right now. The first question is, what are your open hours? And now this one's kind of boring, so I'm just going to breeze past it. Basically, uh, I would just have it open like 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., one of the standard times. I don't get when places are open like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays only, because then when is anybody supposed to go to your store? Like, is literally the only market uh, uh, like housewives and I don't understand that, but I want it to be 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. because I like going to bookstores on my way home from work or school. I loved doing that when I was in college, and I would go to Vaughn's Books. I would often just drop by on the way back to my apartment after classes ended. That's a beautiful experience, and I want to pass it on to other people. The second question is Is there ambient music and what kind? Now, I don't really think music is necessary here. I mean, I don't really like music when I'm browsing a bookstore, so honestly, I would say no music. I like the quiet. I'm a bit of an old man in that respect. But if somebody was pointing a gun to my head and forced me to put music in my bookstore, I would say like soft jazz, like similar to what uh, this guy. Don't want to be rude here. Just similar to what RogertG, reader of books, said in his original video. Good choice. He said that he would put soft jazz after like 6 p.m. or something. I think that's what I do too because it's really nice background music. There's no words. It doesn't distract you. It is very cozy. That's kind of the vibe everybody wants from a bookstore, even if we all have different ways of achieving it. The third question, is there a coffee bar? And would you serve alcohol? Uh, Hell no. That's basically what I'm gonna say. I may be a bit prejudiced, but I really don't like it. I really don't like the vibe of bookstores that are like a cafe plus a bookstore. I mean, first of all, there's the difficulty of like, do you want coffee and spillable liquids around the books, especially since I'm gonna definitely want to do a used bookstore that probably also has some antiquarian books in there. A little spoiler for the rest of this tag, but who cares? Bookstores like that, I'm in. Whenever I walk into a bookstore, a new bookstore, really, because this is the only stores that have like cafes in them, and half the store is taken up by like a cafe and then a bunch of tables, people sitting on their freaking laptops. And all the way in the back of the store, pushed against the wall, are like several bookshelves spaced really far apart, like 10 feet apart, and each one is like this wide. And there's books sitting like face out, and they're all like Pride and Prejudice or The Court of Thorns and Roses. Then like I'm not going to that bookstore. I mean, why would I even like I'm not gonna find anything new there, honestly. I don't like those places. I love the junkie stores. I love the grime. I love the ones that violate the freaking fire code. And I know I saw one tweet that was like that feeling when the bookstore violates the fire code. And they showed picture of a place that literally has shelves like okay, first of all, the shelves are like this far apart. They're like several feet apart. So that ain't violating no fire code. And second of all, the bookshelves in that picture are literally just stacked as bookshelves should be. Like they literally just have they're literally just full of books with no like stupid plants or like face out books or anything like that. That person is stupid. I love bookstores that actually violate the fire code and spit on it. And I have been to bookstore before that actually was recently closed down due to fire code violations and then reopened. And the guy there was really talkative. And like I was there for like an hour and a half and he would just not stop talking the whole time. And it was kind of crazy, but that's for another time, I guess. Uh, oh yeah, bookstores that I hate. Uh, well, let's move on to something more positive. Question number 4. Are patrons encouraged to linger? Are there comfortable chairs? What kind of lighting? Are there tables? Are there areas for group gatherings? Okay, well, that's a barrage of questions. Geez, I can't even hear myself think. Okay, first of all, this question is really important. And it was good that this question was included because it really differentiates what kind of bookstore you're talking about here. There's, and like the kind of philosophy that you have for bookstoreization. Personally, I will let customers linger if they want to, but I'm not going to build the store around it. Those aforementioned cafe bookshops are built for you to linger, and I always find that it's difficult to linger, like unless you have coffee and you're on your laptop or something. But that doesn't really have anything to do with books. I mean, it's best to linger in like a nice used bookshop where there's tons of paperbacks and random books that you can pick off the shelves and be like, "What's this? I never heard of this," and then read it. You know, Robert G actually mentioned a certain place called Shakespeare and Company, an English language bookstore in Paris that I have been to. I was there just a few months ago. I got this bookmark from there. And I just wanted to talk about it because, as cool and as famous a bookstore as it is, I mean, I didn't really get that much out of it. It was a new bookstore. It just had normal new bookstore stock, and it was in a beautiful building. It looked pretty. It was super cute. It was super Instagrammable. Oh my God, Instagram! But it I didn't get much out of it. It says new and used books on the thing, but there were pretty much all new books, and there was only some used. But what I want to mention is that the upstairs of Shakespeare and Company was like this big reading room that was like walls lined with bookshelves, little plants here and there, little beautiful lighting. Maybe there are even fairy lights or something. There's a couple of nice easy chairs to sit down in, and there's a big sign saying no photos. Please, no photos. And it was a bit weird because the books on the shelves were like they were books that were picked because they looked aesthetic. Like they were hardcovers from the 40s, basically. They were all things that nobody's heard of and nobody's probably ever gonna read. Things that aren't even interesting. Just random hardcovers from like the 40s that look kind of old. They look kind of nice on the shelf. But that big reading room kind of represented something that I disliked about the store. Ultimately, that was very unfulfilling for me. Was that on the one hand, you got this place that looks super cute, this reading room, but you can't post pictures of it, so it's not Instagrammable. And also, this room is full of books that are not for sale, by the way. They're not for sale. I forgot to mention that. And they're not readable. So, this room kind of fails on all fronts. It's just sort of there. Like maybe you could take a book from the downstairs, bring it to the upstairs, and then read it in one of those chairs. I mean, there was nobody up there, and I'm not surprised at that. Ah, so I definitely don't want to do something like that. You know what I want to do is the thing that yarn stores often do. Fiber art stores, like sewing stores, craft stores, they have like a little seating area in the front, with a nice little rug, some nice Victorian style chairs, probably like a bookshelf with magazines or something on it. Just a very nice, warm, cozy, inviting, homely place for for uh for tired family members and spouses to reside while their spouse who's in love with whatever hyperfixation the story is based around to just peruse. And that's what I'd like to do that because if you want to read a book that's in the store, you can still sit down there. Or if you're one of these husbands or wives who is just waiting for their significant other to look through the store, then you can sit down there too. And I always find it very nice. I think it's very empathetic store design to have a little area like that. So yeah, you could definitely linger there if you want, but I don't really want to base the store around lingering. I have definitely lingered in Vaughn's a couple of times. I There is actually one time I specifically like there's this big thick book that had like one short story by Gustav Meyrink in it. It was some vampires book. And I just went in there and I just read the story. I just plopped down on the ground and said, "Time to read the story." And then I closed it and I said, "That was a good story." Put it back on the shelf. I didn't buy the book. I bought another book instead. I made sure to buy something. But I've done that before and it was very nice actually. I was just sitting down there between the rows of books, or, should I say, the random fire code violating stacks of books that are half covering the giant shelves already stuffed with books. And I just had a great time reading in the land of the time leeches. Oh yeah, lighting. Oh yeah, that's another component to the question is what kind of lighting. This is a bit of an interesting question because it's not really something that I would have thought of. Lighting. I mean, I just you put lights up, to make sure that the store is well lit. That's what I would do, right? Just make sure it's well lit. I wouldn't concern myself with moody, sexy, like dim lighting. I probably wouldn't put up like fairy lights or something super aesthetic and book talky like that. Well, how about this actually? How about no windows? Okay. We light it like a 70s pizza joint. It's no windows there, so it's pretty dark on the inside. And there are strobe lights all over the place, flickering constantly. And guess what? They're out of sync with each other. So like it's not like the entire store is illuminated briefly. Uh in this flickering mayhem. It's like they're a little bit off. So it's like different parts of the store, there's different lights flickering at the same time. Other lights are flickering, and it makes shoplifting very easy, and it makes reading hell. It makes doing anything hell. That's that's something you can do if you're designing a bookstore for sure. Okay, number six. Where's your bookstore located? In the busy heart of a large city? In a neighborhood of a large city? In a suburban strip mall? In a small town? In a rural area? Well, I think I would want it to be in a suburban area. Nice, walkable area. In fact, it might be nice to have it in a residential area, which might sound insane to you, but I mean, that's the way cities used to be laid out. There used to be grocery stores that were run out of people's houses. And that idea is just so fascinating to me now. I mean, in South Bend, there's a place called the Erasmus Bookstore, uh, or just called Erasmus Books, I think, and it's in a residential zone. And you'd hardly know it. You'd literally not know it, except like if you walk up the driveway, turn left, into the door, there's like a little bronze placard that says Erasmus Books. It's like this big. There's no big sign out front. There's no nothing. And yet, every time I go in there, somebody else comes in almost right afterwards. There's always somebody there. It's interesting. But I would kind of like to do something like that. I don't want to be like in the middle of a bustling metropolis. Or actually, maybe I do, depending on some of my later answers. But I would like it if I could be somewhere very, very walkable for people. But I also want to be a destination bookstore. Yeah, that's what I'd say. Just suburban. Uh, how does your bookstore look from the outside? Sleek and modern? Dark and brooding? Well, I would like to be in an old building. I love old buildings, and it would be nice if I could rescue some old building or restore some old building. In fact, it might be pretty funky if I was inside an old church. I mean, that sounds ridiculous because churches are really bad to heat because they have such high ceilings and a lot of windows. But maybe if I could find some small church, instead of turning that church into a craft brewery, we can give it a second life as a bookstore. Wouldn't that be intriguing? Yeah, the more I think about it, the more that's a cool idea. Well, what I also have written down here on my notes is that I kind of want a statue, like like how in medieval Prague they would have like statues above every storefront telling you like what's inside. It'd be cool if like above the sign there's a super distinctive statue of like maybe made of wood or stone or something of like a guy like reading a book, to tell you it's a bookstore. That would be very distinctive, and it would eventually become a symbol for the store. Like, okay, the bookmarks that we sell would definitely have that little picture on there. The bags that we sell at the front would have that picture on there. The T-shirts we sell, the buttons, the pins, the stickers, and all those would have that little statue with the guy on it. Okay, I'm dead serious about this one. I think that the statue would be cool. I don't want it to have like a neon signs in the window that say like read in cursive. I don't really want like plants dangling or like fairy lights or any of the book talky stuff. No. I want it to seem very simply very serious and a little bit dark and brooding, kind of like what uh Robert G suggested here. And it turns out that I actually skipped a question here, so let me go back a bit. Number 5, is there live entertainment? Poetry readings, authors' readings of their current works, lectures in history? No. No. Not a lot of that, no. If you're my friend and you've self-published a book, then I can get you something in the bookstore. But like like a signing or book signing or something. But otherwise, if it's like somebody who wants to do a weird thing called ontologies of rebellion, discussing Hispanic turn of the century racial literature. I mean, oof, that's a hard no, dog. That's a hard no. It's not that I hate the concept of that. It's not that I hate the concept of a social space where people do social things. I feel like there should be more of those in society. It's just that I have multiple experiences of like mildly awkward experiences where I walk into a bookstore. Like just recently, a few months ago, I walked into some bookstore that's mostly new books, a fair amount of used books also. And like the second I stepped inside, it turns out everybody's sitting in a circle in their little mid-century plastic school chairs doing a little powwow about ontologies of rebellion or something. And the second I walk in, I'm like, they're packed so tightly that like I'm 2 feet from them, and they all turn around like, and I'm like, hi, and I'm like trying to squeeze by them, and there's it's so that I can look at the store, and they're like, are you here for the like book thing? Are you here for the lecture? And I'm thinking like, oh no, that's okay. I'm sorry, no, thank you. And they're like, you can join if you want. I'm like, no, that's okay, please. That's okay. I didn't do that, but I was like, no, that's okay. And I just move along and look at the books. And I'm sorry, but that's awkward. I'm sorry, but those powwow things, I have a very negative association now with seeing a bunch of city folk of these city folk sitting in a circle and as they're like discussing ontologies of rebellion or something. I'm sorry. And then another one happened recently that was like basically the same thing where a lady was talking about, a local author was talking about her books, and the same thing happened where people were like, are you here for the thing? And I just had to be like, I'm sorry. And then I felt like an asshole. I mean, I don't like it. So, okay, so will I have lectures and live readings and stuff? Hell no. Not unless you're my buddy. Then we could talk. Nepotism for the win. Okay, so we're almost near the end here. What's your specialty? Used books, new and used? Only fiction, only nonfiction, fiction and nonfiction? Does your bookstore specialize in a particular genre? Now, this is a very important question. This is the question where, like, whether or not you like the bookstore is basically going to be made. This probably should have been one of the earlier questions, to be honest, because it's such an important one for envisioning what kind of space you're trying to create. Me personally, I love a good used bookstore. I think you can probably tell by now, but the new bookstores, I don't often find something to look at there. It's just like a lot of them don't even have that much selection, and and what there is so expensive. I mean, come on, like the most I've ever spent on a book is, excuse me, the most I've ever spent on a book I'm actually going to read is like $25, My cap for 90% of the books I buy is like $15. I mean, that doesn't even approach the cheapest price for most new books. It's kind of ridiculous. I love the used bookstores. I love those moldy ass paperbacks that cost $4, and that's basically 90% of my reading. So yeah, my store will be nothing but that. My store, nothing but the used. There'll be truckloads just deposited in a giant trap door that comes out of the wall. They'll just flood in all the time, and I'll basically not even arrange them. Like the shaft will open, the books flood in, a giant pile in the center, and I'll just like take one off the top and put it on the shelf, and I'll just say like, "Well, the rest are fine, open season," and I'll basically keep it like that because we are breaking fire codes here. The more fire codes broken, the better the store is. That's the kind of thing I love. And okay, well, as for genres and stuff, I mean, I like genre stuff. By that I mean like horror, sci-fi, uh, fantasy, pulp, adventure fiction, nautical fiction, that all bollocks, you know? Nonfiction, I like nonfiction sometimes, but, I I don't know as much about it, so I feel like I won't be able to sell it very qualifiedly. So that's basically what my bookstore would be like in terms of selection. Number nine, very simple one, and basically the last one. What's the name of your bookstore? This is a very difficult one. Might have to get back on that one. Uh, Although when I was doing this list originally, like writing it down for the notes that are right here, I did come up with a name that I really like actually. It's a very simple one, just Lancelot's. Lancelot's Books. And I think that that's a cool, punchy name. It's very memorable. Might sound a bit cheesy. I don't know. What do you think? But I love Arthurian literature, so I like that name. And it won't necessarily indicate that the store is full of nothing but medievalia and that kind of thing. But I just think it's a really memorable name. And imagine like the statue with the person reading the book and the name Lancelot's besides it and like old English font. I feel like that would be really cool. Established, 2026, over 10,000 books in stock, something like that. I just think that that's the name of my bookstore officially. And number 10 is tag some friends, but I don't really have anybody that I feel like I can tag. So I'm feeling like I'm gonna skip that one. I'm sorry, Robert G. Okay, number 11, I'm adding a number because this is sorely missing from the original list, I think. Maybe Robert G didn't want to put this in here because of his own personal opinions on the matter, but I like to think maybe he just didn't think of it. Animals. Do you want animals in your bookstore? Me? I would have a cat or two or three. I I love it when a bookstore has cats. Cats are good for bookstores because they tend to be a lot less rambunctious than dogs. Like everybody loves dogs, but cats are a lot more delicate. They're a lot more kind and nice. Uh, I have had cats pee on a couple of my books. I do have a copy of Sir Nigel by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, in which my cat urinated on the cover. But that's because I put it like on the floor. So that's kind of my bad. Any books that are above the floor will basically be safe from a cat. A dog, I mean, they'll probably be safe too, but cats, I think, are a lot more conducive to the cozy atmosphere that we want to create. I know a lot of people would love to have dogs in their store. Maybe you want to have a fish tank or even a reptile or something, or even an alligator if you're allowed. But I would definitely have a cat or two in my bookstore. Okay, Lancelot's Books, Middle English font, 10,000 plus books in stock, established 2026. There's a statue above the door of somebody reading. It's a nice, beautiful old building. It's in a suburban neighborhood. It's very walkable. So many used books, packed floor to ceiling. Low key breaks the fire codes, but you can still totally like walk around and see everything. All the prices are inside the front cover with a little pencil. The prices are very reasonable. New books are coming in all the time. Oh, and one more thing. I don't know if I'm even allowed to do this or not, but I have like a shelf in the front with like with like some print on demand cheap Amazon books that are like books that I like to books that I want to recommend to people. And it's a little library. So you can like check out the book for free and then bring it back anytime you want. Maybe there's a Dropbox or like a Dropbox in the front of the store or something. This would be a nightmare to manage. But if it was legal, which I don't know if it is, I don't think you could just open your own library like inside of a store. But I would totally have that. And those books would be like book recommendations. So public domain works. So I could get like a cheap Amazon copy of like the Three Mulligers or something, or like Last and First Men or something. Other books that I would recommend like that, and just the small shelf of books that I would really love to recommend to people, and they can bring them back whenever they want. I don't know, maybe it's a dumb idea. Instead, I could just have a little free library outside. But yeah, that's my bookstore. I hope that that tells you something about me as a reader and as a person. I think that that's the value of this list, and I have nothing more to say, so I'm just gonna call it there. See you later, BookTube.